Hello. Slightly different video from me this time round, and sadly there is some news with regard to the farm and the videos that you've seen previously over the years, but sadly the family farm has been put on the market and is up for sale. So I've always enjoyed doing stories of the family farm through the seasons and all the work that we've done in the time that I've been involved here. But I also thought it'd be quite nice to document this. I've been struggling to find similar stuff online, probably because it's such an emotional process. But yeah, I wanted to document what we have done here through the 6 generations of our family. Over 120 years we've been farming Fairwood Corner Farm, and yeah, I thought it'd be quite nice for future generations that won't get to grow up on these fields like my brother and I have done and my family before me. So yeah, something a little bit different, but yeah, I'm going to go through the story of Fairwood Corner Farm, through the story of having to pack things up, sell things off, and yeah, sell these 52 acres that we've been farming for 6 generations and over 120 years. So I hope you enjoy, as bad as that word is to use, I suppose, or the wrong word to use, but yeah. And if you want, not that I really care, but hit the subscribe button, because there'll be more than one video I'll be doing this over. If you want to follow along and hear more about my family's history here, from the Llewellyns through to the Griffithses through to the Wrights. This is Fairwood Corner Farm, and this is our story. So yeah, before I start, I think I just need to make sure I've got all the right technology up and running and yeah, do this properly. So got my microphone. This is what all the influencers have these days, isn't it? So make sure that's up and running and you can all hear me properly. So yeah, here's the story. So yeah, I've always had a fascination in the family tree. From a young age, I was always known as being quite inquisitive and nosy as to who were the generations before us farming here, on both sides of the family really, because obviously my grandfather was from farming family as well, but from further afield. But because I always knew that Gran was the 4th generation here, I was curious to know who the generations before us were. Plus we've had a family Bible here in my whole entire lifetime, which had names of family members that I didn't really know at the time, but I've come to learn a lot more about. But a few years before Gran passed away, I was fortunate to, one Christmas day, to sit down with her and write all the family tree information that she had down. Now I'll pop in a picture or a video here now, because the size of the piece of paper is massive. Like Gran was an only child, but we were from a big family. So and probably some names that you will recognize as I go through these different generations and where family members came from to be living here and working here in Fairwood Corner. But as the first generation, so obviously the first generation to be farming here at Fairwood Corner Farm that we're aware of, we have very limited information on them, obviously, because as I'm sure you can imagine, the further back I've gone, the smaller the amount of information I have on them. But the first generation that I am aware of here that Gran told me of was a gentleman called John Llewellyn, who was married to Mary. Now, unfortunately, Gran couldn't remember what Mary's surname was or where Mary came from. But yeah, John Llewellyn, who was married to Mary, were the first generation here at Fairwood Corner Farm. And as I'm sure you can imagine, the farm actually looked very different to what it does now. I'll drop some pictures in of what the farm roughly would have looked like when they were here farming, compared to what I have always known Fairwood Corner Farm to look like. So I can only give you a rough idea now, but basically this is what we've always called the bull house, or where we used to keep the chickens and turkeys later in my farming life. But this, if you see from the picture that I put in now, this was the bottom end of the farm, and then the buildings that were above it are obviously what's in the next picture coming up. So the yard looked very different to what it does now. So yeah, the only information we've had on John Llewellyn and Mary is from a letter that they received in 1900, and that would have been from, well, it was from the Vivian family. So that was the family that owned the estate that Fairwood Corner Farm came under at the time. So the Vivian estate, the Vivian family, they own Sketty Hall, where Singleton Hospital is now, and surrounding farms in that area. So yeah, the letter was from 1900, so we're very aware that John and Mary were here pre-1900 farming, but it's the only bit of information we have. I have no pictures of them at all, but I'm going to try and dig out the picture that I took of the letter to read it to you, because I think it gives a really nice idea of what John was like as a farmer farming Fairwood Corner. Okay, so yeah, got the letter. But firstly, before I read it, can we all just take some time to appreciate the handwriting on this letter? I find it absolutely fascinating, and it just makes me feel or reminds me of watching like the period dramas on TV, where you see them writing with the quill and ink, and yeah, I absolutely love it. And I just think it's definitely from a time of a little bit more of a slower pace. But yeah, so the letter reads, it's dated February the 8th, 1900, and it says, Mr. J. Llewellyn, Fairwood Corner Farm, Gelli Hir. With reference to your interview with me last Tuesday, when you said that you wished to retire from the above farm in favour of your son. I am very sorry to lose you as a tenant. Your farm has always appeared to me to be the neatest I have got. I have never had to wait for any rent, and I am willing to allow your son to take the farm on from, now I think this is either the 25th or the 26th of March next, I'm assuming that's the next month, on the same conditions as you now hold it. I trust that he will prove as good a tenant as you have been. And then obviously it's signed the Vivian family. But yeah, just to have this one little bit of information of John Llewellyn at Fairwood Corner Farm is just incredible, especially when you read the date of 1900. So yeah, as I said, obviously himself and Mary were here farming before that time, but this is the only bit of information that we have on them. So yeah, unfortunately, as I said, that is the only information we have on John Llewellyn and Mary, first generation at Fairwood Corner Farm. But as I said, I think it's brilliant. I think it's fascinating. As for clearing the farm, so the decision was made end of October, I think it was, just after my grandfather had passed away, by the next generation, that they weren't going to take on the farm themselves. That's reasons for them to explain. That's not my place to say anything. But as you can imagine, it's been quite an emotional process since the end of October. We've been here now clearing out the sheds and trying to make the place look as tidy and clean as possible, ready to market it. I think from what we've been told, it's about 20 tonne of scrap, or not far off 20 tonne of scrap has gone out of here, which is, it's crazy to think of. But let's just say my grandfather was a hoarder when it came to storing stuff in the sheds, and my grandmother was definitely a hoarder with regard to storing things in the house. But that's all being sorted. We're still working through things slowly, but farm went on the market now beginning of March. We've had the first lot of viewings. It is emotional, and the thing is now the farm is looking great. This weather is just fantastic, and it's really starting to shine in all its glory. So yeah, still a lot more to do, but we're here every weekend making sure that the job gets done.